In this episode, we're interviewing my buddy Mike Enriquez and talking on why flips are so difficult in California and why we are opting into out-of-state real estate investing. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Investing with the Baldovinos. My name is Josh, and today we are interviewing Mike Enriquez. Now, this story is pretty interesting because Mike and I actually met through CrossFit, and he owns CrossFit Resistance. Mike is a full-time real estate agent. He's actually turned his first property that he had into a rental, and has now, years later, has now moved into that rental, and is now looking to expand his portfolio in different out-of-state markets. And of course, we can't talk a little bit about CrossFit and other businesses that we've kind of aligned ourselves with. So hope you guys enjoy this, and here's the episode.
Yeah. That's not
I don't think I've ever actually met you or talked to you yet.
I don't think so either. But that's the power of CrossFit, right?
I like that. And, you know, matching black hoodies already, I guess.
Oh, you know, not mad at that.
I think I need to, you know.
You've got tied up. There you go. How you doing over there? I know. How long you been out there? Up north. There you go.
Well, see, mine's too short. I'm originally from San Jose.
That's right.
But it's been like a little over 2 years back now.
Awesome.
I mean, we miss Hawaii a lot, but San Jose was always home for us. Yeah, I mean, I grew up in San Jose. My wife actually grew up in San Jose. I don't know if you know my little story, but
oh, I'm cool with it. Yeah.
I started Shakas during grad school.
Right.
So I was working at UH, was studying at UH, started Shakas, and then for a brief moment, I also moved back to the Bay Area to start a CrossFit gym in the Bay.
Yeah.
Ran Shakas remotely, left the gym, started a company or started a job at an ed tech company here in the Bay. Met my wife there, moved back to Hawaii to run Shakas and work back at UH. And then now we're back in the Bay Area again.
Yeah. No, similar to my story. I left here, Santa Clarita, the burbs, super burbs. So just imagine what you see on TV, dudes in their varsity jacket type deal, except I lived on the farm side. So I had a lot of like cowboy style dudes.
Gotcha.
Left there, worked for a clothing company. Was there for close to 11 years. Got laid off. Coincidentally, I just started with my cousin's CrossFit Resistance 2 years before I got laid off.
So your cousin started Resistance?
Me and my cousins, we all started it. So me, my cousin Alan, we call him Big Al, who I'm sure you know on Instagram. Ken, K-Rod. K-Rod is, no one knows who he is. He's never around. And then my best friend, my childhood best friend, Nabil.
Okay.
So all four of us started it in that 1,200 square foot retail space, right next to that it's 3 suits for $100, men's suit warehouse type deal.
Dude, that's legit.
Yeah. Yep. And then now the owners we bought out everyone except for me. We have Paulo, Tara, and then we have Warren, who's a really good friend.
Gotcha.
I was like, oh, he's got the camera all set up. Here I am on my iPad. I'm actually in my office. So long story short, when COVID happened, I went real estate full time. I've been doing real estate for it'll be 6 years now. I did part-time for 4.5 years. And then now I went full-time, and, you know, COVID and real estate, the real estate game just shot up. So I decided, I was like, okay, you know, I need an office. And coincidentally, my wife's cousin, needed an office also. And he's in the construction business. So he helps with anything that is in regards to updates, remodels. If we want to do flips and stuff, he's our go-to. His son, my nephew, is my business partner. So he's also a realtor. So we opened up like our own little office here. I'll show you. And then this is just kind of like the quick run through.
Cribs tour.
But it's just like, I call it the boys club. And then this is my nephew's office over here. I call it the boys club because literally it's just dudes in here. We even have a theater, a movie theater. I don't know if you could see it there. It's pretty funny.
I like it.
And so the moment me and my nephew partnered up, it's just been that good. It's a blessing for sure. Like I know with COVID and, you know, all the other struggles, but it's been a blessing on our side for sure.
So obviously sales have probably been like off the charts, right? For
the most part.
And so then what brought on so are you wanting to do flips or buy and holds?
So originally I wanted to do flips. And then we came on to a few wholesale properties that looked intriguing. You know, it kind of mapped out all the rules. The rehab versus, the ARV was solid.
Mm-hmm.
You had about a $60K leeway.
Okay.
But even with wholesale properties out here in good old Los Angeles, they're still bidding more. Yeah. And so this property went from 380 to 440. And then that just kept subtracting all of our flip money, right? So long story short, and of course I didn't even, right at the last moment, I was like, well, 440 is still something doable. So I was like, okay, cool. I was like, maybe we'll just rent it. Right. So for 445, and I'd still be well within I can utilize the hard money we would get, about 20,000 to rehab it because I had foundation issues. And luckily my cousin is in the construction business. So we kind of have the cost dumbed down, I should say.
Yeah.
But I was 10 minutes too late. They were already in escrow after I tried to offer. So it was still pretty good, especially with everything after the hard money, all that.
How long ago was this?
This was November.
Did you ever look back to see if they is it listed now?
It's not. No. So he rented it. Okay. I thought it was on the MLS for rental for sure. I definitely did look back. I was like, this guy, son of a gun. So ever since then.
What are the rents there?
This particular area was in Simi Valley. It was on title. It was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. Okay. But it was a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house extended. So it was done okay. I'm not 100%
or no
sure.
One's
I'm going to say no. Yeah, exactly. The closer you get to LA, everything's permitted. Be surprised how many, especially the Valley, no one cares in the Valley. They'll just do it. But as long as it's done properly, no one's going to say anything.
Yeah.
So see me, we were going to make it obviously a lot more appealing. There's a portion of the house that needed a lot of upgrading, and that would have been the heavy hitter. But the property value, the ARV was subject to be anywhere from 550 to 600.
Oh wow!
Yeah, from 440. So it would have worked out if we decided to spend money just to make it that much better. Even on top of that, the rental over for that particular area would be anywhere from $3,200 to $3,600 a month. Okay. Yeah. So it would cover our loan, cover, the PITI, the umbrella policy that you had for $25 a month. So all that jazz, it would have been totally fine. It would have been well worth it. But because I was so new to everything, I was calling my buddy who does a lot of rehabs. I was like, dude, is this a good deal? He's like, but he only does rehabs. He only does rehab flips. He's like, dude, that's not a good deal. I'm like, damn it. But then taking into consideration what the bigger pocket boys like to talk about is, look at all your options, right? Maybe you buy it and you're like, it's a flip, but what if it can turn into a rental property and make you that much more money? So long run, I'm in the long haul. So rental properties for me is kind of what I'd like to be getting into.
And then in California?
No.
Oh.
So I'm giving up on California until my capital is where it should be, because I don't want to start off like everyone's like, oh, you could do it with $0 down, or you could do it with minimal and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yes, you can, but California has such a higher tier of home pricing that it just gets more dangerous for you.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom, her husband, my stepdad, is a DOD contractor. So he actually goes to bases and does like a year or 2 or 3. So we never met, but I've actually been to Hawaii billions of times, and they lived in Hawaii for 3 years. I think it's 3 years, 2 years maybe. And we were out there quite often. And I never knew what he did. I was like, what do you do? And then like the last time we were there, he was like, oh, we got to go to Ohio for a year. Oh, we have to go to North Carolina. So now they're in North Carolina right now. And so my mom's also a realtor, mind you. That's why I became a realtor.
Okay.
And so I have my mom giving me info on other local realtors that do rehab rentals, the Burr method, right? So
where is she?
I can talk to those.
She's an agent where?
She's an agent out here, technically. I don't know if you know about real estate agents. They don't ever really retire. They pretend to.
Of course.
She says she's retired, but
if someone gives you a deal, you're going to take the deal.
Exactly. Luckily, what's nice enough for me is she's lazy now, and so she just gives them. She gives them to me. So, but of course, I got to do the whole break off, the whole referral.
Yeah.
So, but she's my mom, so
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's out there looking in Ohio.
What part of Ohio?
She's close to Surf City, or not Ohio. Sorry, North Carolina. She's close to Surf City. I don't honestly know where the base is, but I know they're very close to the base because obviously that's where his work is. So right now we're looking there, and where is she specifically? Surf City is a little bit pricier. Where she's at is still kind of close to the beach side.
Mm-hmm.
But the community is a little bit on the lower price end. So you could spend anywhere from 120 to 180 on a single family. I'd like to start off with a single family and then work my way into duplex. But for now, I have to technically, this would be my second rental property, except I moved into my first rental property, me and my wife.
Okay.
So I rehabbed. So it was my rental property for about 15 years. My dad passed away, and we ended up using funds to buy properties. So this one specifically has been with us for almost 15 years now.
Gotcha.
And I moved into it now. It'll be 2 years. So I rehabbed it from its original state, moved into it. Now my wife loves where we live, so she wants to purchase something there. So I'll do the same. I'll just touch it up and rent it out, and hopefully collect. That's the goal.
Okay. It's like the house hack, right? I guess, or like
absolutely,
the live and flip.
Yeah. I kind of went in reverse. I moved into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the renovations I did and how the market is, we bought it for about $180,000 in 2008. Now it's worth about $480 to $500, depending.
God.
Yeah. But remember, that's so everyone's all like, I want money tomorrow. it didn't take tomorrow. It took 15 years to get, but still, like, that's what everyone looks for, is like, man, I'd love that investment, right? And then so
no,
that's
I get
where
it.
I'm at. What's that?
No, I get it. To me, I'm still a baby, right? Like, I just turned 30.
Yeah.
And it's like, what kid in college thinks like, oh, I'm gonna buy real estate right away, right? Like, no one thinks that.
Yeah.
But now, like, I'm like thinking about, like, went to grad school doing nothing, obviously, with that degree now, because I was selling wine.
What was the degree?
Master's in public administration.
Got it.
I know, like my path is all weird. Like, it was like like in my undergrad, it was like, I'm gonna be a cop.
Yeah.
And then there's a hiring freeze when I graduated college, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go to grad school. And then the MBA for cops is MPAs, which is Masters in Public Admin.
Right.
And I was like, all right, I'm gonna just do that. And then once I have the MPA, then I'll like use that to like move up the ranks. But then I stayed at UH for a little bit, and and then blah 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 blah. And working education does not give you any money, so then you can't buy anything, especially in Hawaii.
It's funny because on Bigger Pockets, I was just listening to the podcast on my way over here. A lot of them are like school teachers that just say, hey, like, this isn't working out for me, but luckily I saved a few, a few pennies, and they just take these leap of faiths and go, all right, I'll try it. And then 1 turns into 2 turns into 10. And now the one that I was specifically listening to is now he has 37 units.
Yeah. I mean, I've been listening to those too, because and that's why we also picked Ohio. It's I mean, you can't do it in LA. I'm not doing it in San Jose. Like, we don't even, like, this is still my parents' house.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's like, if I were to look back, if you want to talk about a crazy path, I went from, I'm going to be a nurse, to I'm going to be a firefighter, to I'm going to be a cop, which I have a great story about that too. I was working at the bank at this point. So I went from teller to banker, because you move up in the chain. And so I went from Wells Fargo, and I was transferring to Citibank, and the transfer was like a 3-month take. And so I had 3 months of no work. So I was like, dude, I can't do that, because I left Wells Fargo because the management was terrible. And I went to Citi, and they're like, oh, well, we can't do anything until 3 months, but we'll hire you right now. But you got to wait for 3 months. And I was like, okay. So I coincidentally called my buddy from high school. I knew he worked for this clothing company. I said, hey, do you have anything quick? I only need it for 3 months. And he goes, are you okay to work in a warehouse? I was like, sure. I was like, I'm 20 years old. Doesn't really matter to me. Worked at the warehouse. 2 months later in the warehouse, one of the owners, this guy, Ben, he comes up to me and he goes, you don't belong here. And I was like, damn. I was like, oh, my bad. Did I do something wrong? And he goes, no. I want you at Rosewood. I want you in the retail space. I was like, oh, okay. So I started working at the store. And then the 3 months turned into 6 months. And then I became manager of there. And this was the time where, well, I'm not saying streetwear is not big. It's just a different type of big now. But when it was booming, we were opening stores left and right. So the manager of the original Rosewood store that I was at, he went to SF, and then I consumed Rosewood. And then from SF, he opened up New York. So then I managed both stores, Rosewood and San Francisco. And then he managed New York. Long story short, like 5 years down the line, I end up being the retail operations manager, and I'm managing all the stores, including the online. And then I got laid off because streetwear decided to buy online only and stop visiting the stores. So we started closing up a bunch of the stores, and we only have one now, technically. So they did me a favor. I didn't have to fire 30 kids. they kind of let me have that choice. They're like, you can either stay for half your pay, half the work, or, you know, we can lay you off and give you a severance. And so they hooked me up.
Gotcha.
Then I took a year off of life. Pre-marriage and babies, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I think during that year off life, I randomly got my real estate license. And then I didn't really do much with it, obviously. It wasn't hung anywhere. It wasn't at a brokerage. It was just sitting there. And one of my athletes is an agent, this guy, Ara. I was asking him a bunch of questions. And he's like, dude, why don't you just come work for me? And I was like, okay. But you don't realize when you're a young realtor how much it costs just to be a realtor. Like, a lot of people think like, oh, they make the big bucks. It's like, kind of we make the money, but you got to also understand it takes 30 days for us to get a check, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have nothing, if it closes, and if you have nothing in your pipeline, you're working for free technically.
Mm-hmm.
And so I worked for free because I had nothing in my pipeline. And that team it didn't fail, but I went a different route to my childhood best friend, Nabil, who's also a realtor. And he guided me pretty good. And that's when I actually had my first sale part-time. And so part-time, I would probably have about 7 to 8 transactions part-time a year. Okay. And then when I went full-time, everything just escalated. I just went 110% in. And now the goal is you want to have, you know, at least 2 to 3 in escrow a month. That's the goal.
Yeah. For
right now's market, I should say, for right now. Because I'm trying to prep myself for everything. I have like my short sale cert. I have my foreclosure cert. I'm actually getting my lender's license next month.
Oh.
Yeah. So I just kind of like the David Green, the bigger pockets. I kind of want to have my foot in all those doors.
Yeah.
And then most likely I'll start to build a team off that.
Gotcha.
So, but the rehab, I'm getting close. I got close with that one in Simi, and then I realized, you know what? Let's start smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at spending anywhere from 1 to 200,000. Because the cool part about those areas is generally rehab doesn't cost as much as out here.
Yeah.
You know, you're not spending $100K on a full remodel. And that's kind of the plus side of it. So North Carolina will most likely be my second, or I should say my first real rehab rental. And then the goal is from there, just keep sprouting. I want to at least leave a property per child. So if I can do that and have them utilize it in 15, 20 years. Yeah. If they want to sell it, sure. If they want to keep it and pull equity out, sure. Like, it'll be theirs to choose from, because saving for your kid off of 1.425% interest is like it's almost near worthless. So if I can build them a small little empire, that'd be awesome.
I know. Yeah. That's what I've been thinking about too. I mean, even just like I just made a year at JLore, which makes me eligible for the awesome. 401k.
Yeah. Congrats.
But I'm like, should I just opt out and just dump the extra money into real estate? Because I mean, I'm not even picking the fund. Like, I wouldn't even be as aggressive as I want to.
Yeah.
And like, now that I'm starting to like get the systems in place, I'm like, there is another way, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, exactly. And it's funny because I've held on to my old 401 for now. I pulled out of it when I got married, but I had it just sitting there because I didn't have another job to transfer it over to. And I didn't want to put it into like a IRA or anything like that. So it just kind of sat there. And then I totally used it for the rehab. And I was like, well, this makes sense, you know, and then my value, everything just increased significantly when I rehabbed it, you know, because properties in my area, if you just leave them at the normal builder, I guess, model, well, it still sells for a good amount. You know, if you put 30, 40 grand into your house, mine shot up like about 120, 130 grand at that time. So, I mean, it definitely helps. I'm not saying everyone don't do 401ks or anything like that. You should have like something small for your, you know, your, sorry for the cussing, but I call it the oh shit fund, you know, like just a little bit for that fund. But yeah, I mean, it's, I think properties are where it's at. And
well, you know what I've also discovered is, and I haven't used it yet, but I've opened up an account to use it, is stock secured lines of credit.
Oh, wow. Really?
So, I mean, most of the major brokerages will do it, like Schwab and Fidelity and whatever. But they only allow you to borrow up to like between 30 and 50% of your entire portfolio. Actually, I think Schwab, if you have over $1 million in stocks, they'll let you borrow up to like 7. Yeah, obviously not me, right? And then you can borrow it, and then the stocks don't go anywhere, but you are paying interest on like that loan, and it's anywhere between like 2 and like 4%, which is like not a huge amount of interest, right?
No.
But I recently switched to M1 Finance for some of my just like regular brokerage account stuff, because they allow you to borrow up to 35% of your portfolio balance for at 2% interest.
Nice.
And so that's what I'm going to use to help kind of fund the rehab draws for some of the next projects. But that is like a way that you can still keep, you know, your stock funds. And then just like individually parse them out to different small projects. So
yeah, for sure. Like that's kind of what, so also looking on kind of like the lower priced areas, it kind of works for me because as a realtor, I don't make a lot technically because I have a lot of write-offs. I do what all the other dumb realtors do, and we write off a ton because we don't want to owe a lot of taxes. So on paper, it looks like I make like 30 grand a year.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's not bad money, but what I am saying is like, in order for you to get into a loan, get into certain things, like for me, I couldn't get it. I probably could barely qualify for an FHA by myself. I told my wife, because my wife also wants to help invest. I was like, listen, let's save you for our home because you have the W-2. She can get a loan for whatever. She's a nurse. And we'll utilize me for all of our small investments. So if I can start investing in North Carolina, which, you know, I'm approved for a loan up to 180, which is nice. By myself, my wife will just have to sign a quick claim stating that she's not a part of it. That saves grace for our future house or any other future endeavors. Because in reality, you know, how many FHA and Fannie Mae loans can you get? It's like 5 each or something like that per, I guess, per individual.
Yeah.
So I know there's other ways that you can obtain loans and stuff like that. Like if you can build a portfolio, a bank will always continue to lend you money. So my goal is if I can start in North Carolina, then maybe I'll just kind of stay in North Carolina for a little bit. If I could build, you know, a portfolio there, then I'll take it somewhere else and say, hey, I have all these in North Carolina. I want to start in Montana. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. Even though Montana is not the best place for it, but you know.
No, I get you. I mean, that's Yeah, that's something that like we started too. Like when I bought the first house in Columbus, it was just me on the loan note.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I can get like however many, right? Some say
Yeah.
4, some say 8, some say 10, whatever it is. And then you can get
Yeah.
another, 10.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But, and then, I mean, I don't know if you already have a hard money lender, but most hard money lenders will only loan to an LLC.
Yes, but if you're the cool part for me, because I'm an agent also, they'll utilize me as a sole proprietor.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah.
So
But
you
yes,
fill the
you're
entity that way.
right. Yeah, and they're like, they tell you to turn it into an LLC after 3 or 4 deals, I think.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. I had no idea. I mean, I never asked the real estate question, obviously, because like I was like, I know nothing.
No, I mean, that's how that's the best way to go about everything, as far as like I'm concerned. Like if I have no idea, my buddy who does a bunch of rehabs, he also does multi-units.
Mm-hmm.
I always talk to him like, just like, I'm not even a realtor. Like, just tell me A to Z of how this stuff works.
Yeah.
Because I'd rather hear it a million times. Even though you hear the same thing a million times, I'd rather hear it a million times and make sure it is what it is,
mm-hmm.
Than me trying to play a guessing game by myself.
Yeah.
So, while I still need to get my foot in the door as far as my first, I now know where my cards lay, and I now know kind of how to weigh and measure what needs to happen. So if I do start out here, obviously I'll just do it myself, but out of state, the smartest thing is contact someone who's already doing it, and that way that realtor or that, that investor can guide you. So it's been good. They've been very informative, and I'll send them deals and they'll be like, no, that's not a good area. Or, the rent is a little tough. You might have a few months where you don't have a tenant. So it's nice to know stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously boots on the ground is everything. And, I think what differentiates people from like wanting to do it versus actually like doing it and being good at it is just people don't talk to other people enough.
Yeah. Exactly.
And even if you're across the country.
Exactly. Yeah. And you'd be surprised. A lot of people will be like, dude, like, so let's set a meeting up. I'll tell you exactly what I do. Like, I met this guy, me and my other buddy, because we've been trying to do this for how long? We met one of his girlfriend's coworkers, and he has a property in Michigan and one in Indiana.
Okay.
And he literally just laid it all down, and it's exactly what I've already heard, which is nice. Yeah. And to see it working for him, because I've never known anyone who's invested outside the state. It's always been in LA.
Yeah.
And to see how he's just like, dude, it's a dream. He's like, they did my property management company. You could pay them to do everything, or you could just pay them to do X amount of things. I pay them to do everything because obviously I'm not there. They have an X amount of dollars they can spend if something breaks or they need to utilize something. And that's its own fund for them. And he goes, they'll call me for approval. After that, they do all the work. And I was like, wow, okay. And I was like, it's that easy. And he's like, dude, it is that easy.
Yeah.
I was like, all right. So originally I was going to go to Ohio because my mom and my stepdad were there. But then when I started doing all my research, they decided, or not they, but the company decided to say, hey, you need to go to North Carolina. So they'll be there for a little bit. And now I know I have time, and I already done my research and contacted realtors. So yeah,
I mean, North Carolina is like, I mean, you're always on bigger pockets a lot. Like it's also like one of the, it's like Ohio, Tennessee, Indiana, North Carolina, right? Are like the ones that are like always in the blog posts of rent to price ratio and emerging markets and things like that. That was, I mean, for me with Columbus, like it's been great. And obviously we got 3 properties in a couple months.
That's awesome.
Paying maybe a little bit over than we maybe should have, but obviously like everything is going up and up and up and up and up every single month.
Yeah, exactly.
So you just like keep slightly riding the wave and hoping that like your rehab goes good.
Yeah, no, exactly.
But I mean, but I mean, you do have a threshold, right, of how much more you're willing to offer over list. And it's just, it's competitive. And so like trying to think about secondary markets outside of Columbus or other states has like been on my mind.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But if I'm like just limiting to Columbus, and that's maybe a few dozen houses every single week that I would actually meet the criteria.
Yeah.
Versus having a better understanding of more markets, and then all of a sudden you just have a huge pool to play with. Yeah.
I mean, then that's pretty much why I branched out. I was really gunning for LA County. Anything LA County, close to it. Even Ventura County is still but then you look at risk over reward, and it's like the risk is well, all of it is the risk, right? The risk out here for me personally is a little bit too great because, I still have my 2 kids that I got to look out for, my wife, we still have our own mortgage, all this other stuff we have to cater to. So I'd rather, if I don't have to spend $100,000 on a down payment, or $100K on rehab, then that's a plus for me. If I could spend $20K on a down and 10 on rehab, like I'm good there.
Yeah.
And if it cash flows, cool. If it doesn't, as long as they're paying for my PITI and everything's covered, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
As long as I'm paying my mortgage and I'm accruing that equity.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's like the most overlooked part, like when like people talk about Burr and like the spur that we're wrapping up right now, which is our second house, like we just finished rehabbing it. And I'm working on refinancing it now. And like all said and done, we're probably going to leave $7,000.
Yeah.
Like in the deal. But like $7,000 for like something that's like basically completely brand new, like roof, foundation, all the insides are all brand new, kitchen and bath. Like, and it would cash flow $300 a month. Like people are like, $300 a month, like that's nothing. And I'm like, dude, but like the instant equity, like that was like 40K, like instantly. I mean, I can't touch it for a second, but like that's instant.
Yep.
And then the principal pay down, all that stuff, like that's where the money is. Like, who cares about like how big or small the cash flow is?
Yeah, exactly. Like not a lot of people. That's what I was saying. Everyone likes the short game. That's why stocks are so deeply wanted as far as day trading and making $100,000 in one day. But in reality, what most of the stock people aren't telling you is not only do they invest in long-term stocks, they're probably investing in long-term real estate at the same time. Stock market dudes aren't dumb, right? So while they can look at quick money easier than the average Joe, they're definitely investing in long-term. They're like, no, I'm not touching that. It's long-term. And they're doing the same thing in real estate. I know a ton of stockbrokers, or I should say the stockbrokers now that are diving into real estate because they see how the return is. Whether you make or break the first 6 years, if you hold on to it for 10, 12, 15, you'll see that significant increase regardless. That's just how it goes. You'll always see that appreciation.
No, for sure. And like one thing that I'm trying to figure out as like another benefit to real estate is obviously like we haven't had a rental property ever until January of this year. So my taxes for next year, like I have no idea. Like, and like my wife and I both have W-2 incomes. Like, how does that offset how much we paid in taxes versus like our earned income? And like, what does that, I mean, because that could be short-term gain just because you would get a bigger refund back potentially. I don't know.
But so the cool part is whatever you spent on rehab, that's already out the door. You can write that off the taxes.
Yeah.
While you can, the the monthly gain, while it is something that will be taxed, there's a lot of other different ways you can write off to alleviate it being taxed. Let's say it gets taxed X amount, you know, let's say something breaks in the house, like the water heater just exploded, right? I had to pay for a new water heater, get installed. That's $2,000, right? That can alleviate the tax difference.
Yeah.
So I assume you're in an LLC also, right? Yeah. So, I mean, then you'll have a K1, right? It's called K1. And then that'll depict on either how much you owe, which of course you'll owe something, but you can write it off to where it can equal out.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. I mean, what I'm hoping, right? It's like, okay, we spent $40,000 on rehab, but really what monthly rent is $1,300 a month, not including PITI and other like miscellaneous maintenance, like that, you know, seemingly maybe $500, not including saving for maintenance, capex, and vacancy, like is not going to get like, that's like $6,000 a year, right? Which is like not a huge added tax burden, but like everything else that's there. But just trying to see how all that plays out. I think it's going to be interesting. And like how like BRRRRs change it versus like rent ready buy and holds.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that also plays in like a big in terms of how much you can depreciate or claim for the first year.
Yeah. I'm curious because there are a few properties that I'm scheduled to call the realtor in about 2 hours or so, but there are some rent ready ones that I'm looking into, and I'm just curious to how, because as a realtor, I'm already, my taxes already suck, like they're terrible, and this year it'll be even worse, especially with owning Resistance. So, you know, Resistance and the gym being what it is, and PPP we obtained, and how they're making it very confusing. Like, what can you write off? What can't you write off?
Yeah.
It's just a big cluster right now of what will my taxes look like? Oh, thank God they extended it. But I'm really curious to what my taxes will look like, because I know how much I made last year. And, you know, it was a significant amount in comparison to obviously the years before, because of how the market was, or I should say is. The market's still crazy. So I'm curious to, I can't keep writing off, you know, X amount every time and trying to clear it. Like, that's not going to work, especially for this time. So I'm on the same boat right now. just a year ahead. I have no idea what's going to happen. I keep calling my tax guy, and he's like, don't worry. I'm like, don't worry what? Like, well, how much do you need right now? Like, what am I going to do? How much do I owe? But because normally Resistance, I was a W-2 coach there.
Gotcha.
On top of an owner dividend. I was able to kind of counter everything and very minimally, like very, very low. But last year I was only a W-2 employee till March. And then after that, it's just been all real estate.
But I mean, if like Resistance took a loss just for rent and all that stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. We'll see. I don't know how it's going to play out because it's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like, because of all the new rules, and then we got hit with a beautiful surprise. I'm just kidding, but it's a terrible surprise. They just delegated our taxes because we're triple net. That increased significantly. And we're like, well, hey, we can't even pay this because we were closed for like 3 months. So, you know, there's just all these other things that are involved where it's like, okay, well, how can we play this off? Do we take the big loss and then figure it out? Or do we pay the X amount of taxes that we might owe? And I don't know. I have no idea. My Warren, my business partner, is much better at that than I am. I just go, hey, when are we getting our K1s? That's all I say.
He's like, here's your K1.
Yeah. And he's just like, I think we have to extend. I was like, no.
Yeah, dude. Well, that's awesome. Well, I mean, I got to jump on another call at 11, but
yeah,
keep me posted on obviously your offers and stuff like that. Like, I'd love to know
for sure
when it gets accepted.
Yeah.
If you like the market.
Yes, absolutely.
You got more friends in the market.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll know in the next few days if I've landed one for sure. So
okay.
We'll see.
Crossed for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. Good talks.
And I will we'll do this again.
Yes. Yeah. It was fun.
Yeah. When you land your first deal, we'll hopefully do a whole dive into it. I want to know.
Okay. Cool. I'm down.
All right, man. Have a good rest of your day.
Take care.
Bye.
Later, man.
If you guys enjoyed that, I'm going to link all of Mike's information down below. Please make sure to give him a follow. And if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. Thanks.